In this video, I am laying out the blueprint that you need in order to close more deals with profitable wholesale suppliers. Let's jump right into it. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, my name is Brad Sherman, and on this channel we explore tips, strategies, and experiences that I have had that will help you start and scale up your Amazon FBA wholesale business. In this video, you are joining during episode 5 of my Amazon FBA wholesale series. So if you have not seen the first 4 episodes yet, make sure to go back and watch those. In this episode, we are covering how to close more supplier accounts. And this is probably the #1 question that I get asked. Brad, how do you close supplier deals? How do you negotiate with brand owners? How can I get more accounts? All of them tell me that they are not selling to Amazon sellers. Guys, plain and short, you probably won't need to watch another video regarding this topic after getting through with this video. Before we jump into it, if you guys do enjoy these videos, it really helps them out when you hit the like button. And if you want to stay up to date on the future content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell as well. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. In order to make this video clear and concise for you, I want to break it down into 3 main parts. We might break out the whiteboard in this video. We'll see as we move forward. 3 main parts to this video. #1 is who you are contacting and understanding the clients that you are reaching out to. Part #2 is I'm basically going to walk you through what you need to have in your back pocket as a beginner, as an intermediate, and as an advanced seller when reaching out to brands and wholesale suppliers. And part #3 is going to cover my exact experience on the do's and don'ts when contacting suppliers. I'm going to outline everything that you should not do and match those points with everything that you should do when reaching out to these suppliers. Let's get it going. Part #1, right? We need to know who we are working with, who our target is. So are you contacting brands? Are you contacting distributors? Because what you say on the phone and how you formulate your email is going to be different based on who you are contacting. There's nothing wrong with putting together a general phone template or email template that you can send on a mass scale. However, when you are reaching out, and especially if you have prior contact with these companies, by email, and maybe you're making a second follow-up phone call, you want to be aware of who you're reaching out to. Are you talking with the brand owner? Are you talking with a sales representative? Are you talking with an office manager? These are the types of things you want to know in order to save time and be most efficient. Also in point #1 is the fact that we need to be contacting the right kinds of companies to begin with. So if you guys have not seen episode 4 of my Amazon FBA wholesale series, I walk you through exactly my sourcing process on how to find profitable brands and distributors that you can work with and close accounts with. These are strategic sourcing methods, proven methods that I use in my business and other successful sellers use. If you guys haven't seen that video, I've linked it above. Make sure to check it out. So, assuming we are contacting the right kinds of companies, and as you guys know, I target small to middle-sized brands directly. I work with some distributors as well, but most of the brands that I'm working with, you probably haven't heard of. They're niche related products, smaller to mid-sized companies. That's not to say they don't do a lot of volume on Amazon, because they do. Just because they're not a household name in every single household does not mean those products do not sell like crazy. So that's one misconception that I want to put out there, is that people think sometimes that smaller to mid-sized companies, they might not have as well-selling products. There are thousands and thousands of brands and distributors out there that want to sell you their product line. So it's about you going in and putting in the work and going out there and getting those accounts. So I do want to jump on the whiteboard for a few minutes. This will help me formulate the thought process for how I want to construct the value for you guys here today. So we're going to basically cover, basic, intermediate, and advanced, what type of seller you are, and how you should be reaching out and the things that you're going to want to have at those different levels. So as a beginner seller, right, let's say you've just started your Amazon account, maybe you have very little feedback, maybe you don't even have any feedback on your Amazon account. So this is where you're going to have to come in and really represent yourself as an actual business entity, okay? You are not an Amazon seller. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that I see with people that reach out to me in my community. They are reaching out and trying to, they tell these brands that they want to sell their products on Amazon. And that is not something that's going to separate yourself from the rest of everybody else doing this, right? That's, maybe 10 years ago that could have worked, not anymore. So basic seller, we are an actual business, right? You are an actual business. So you want to make sure you have the proper documentation, EIN, resale certificate. You want to have some type of a website or landing page, domain that you can send these businesses to that you're reaching out to so that they can see you're a legitimate entity. Assuming you have those different criteria in place in your business and you've got everything set up legally, the next plan of action as a beginner seller in order to close more supplier deals is going to be to formulate your pitch or your value proposition on the phone. Who are you? What do you do? What's your position at the company? What does your company do? How big are you? How many employees do you have? You need to create a representation of your company, even if you're not, $1 million seller or even a six-figure seller. You need to represent your business as a business that is a legitimate entity, right? You could be a new venture. You could be a business that's just starting out. There's nothing wrong with that. Lots of suppliers want to work with new businesses. Do you have a brick and mortar store? Maybe you do. Do you have a warehouse? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't also, and that's okay because we are representing ourselves as an actual business, not just some individual seller on their laptop selling on Amazon. So the more you can make it seem to these companies that you are a legitimate business entity, the better chance you are going to have to close more accounts. For my intermediate sellers, six-figure sellers, maybe some seven-figure sellers, if you've been selling on Amazon for a few years now, you have your account, it has some feedback, it has some good ratings on it. Here are the different features you'll want to have as an intermediate seller. So an intermediate seller is going to want to have a clickable add to cart website of some kind. Now, this preferably is going to be a website that is in a niche specific environment. And what I mean by that is if you are reaching out to a hunting company, you are not sending them a website that sells baby products. That is going to hurt your case, not help it. So this does not mean, just get a website, any old website, and throw a bunch of products in there. If you are going to do a more generic store, that's fine, but I would recommend in this instance, if it's going to be general, you're going to want to organize that website into categories, right? And the overall category should be somewhat related to one another. In my experience, it doesn't really help to have a website with, baby products, hunting products, pet supplies, and then to go and reach out to a pet manufacturer. They're not going to really want to see all these different kinds of products being sold on one website. A lot of these manufacturers, especially brands and distributors as well, but mostly brands, they want to see, are you selling industry specific? So you've built out your business to the point where you can sustain a website that is a little bit more industry specific. Get a clickable add to cart website. Suppliers love to see this. Also consider partnering with brick and mortar stores in your area. This is going to increase your account closure rate tenfold. If you have a big brick and mortar business that you can sell products through, a lot of companies that you reach out to will allow their products to be sold by you on Amazon. They all won't, but you will increase your account closure rate quite a bit just by having this entity. And again, the same principle applies on the brick and mortar store as it does with the e-commerce website. Industry specific. You can have multiple brick and mortar partnerships in different industries that you work in a coexisting relationship. However you want to work out the terms with that store owner is fine. Whether you pay them an upfront fee, whether you pay them some type of commission, that can all be handled down the road. The point is you have a physical store that you can represent to these companies that will increase your account closure rate chance. Another thing that's actually before the brick and mortar store, I would say, as an intermediate seller, is just having a commercial warehouse. A lot of suppliers are going to tell you they want a brick and mortar store, but if you have a commercial warehouse, this is really going to help your case because it makes it seem like you are a more legitimate business entity than if you were just operating out of the house. A lot of companies, they might deal privately with their own shipping companies, and in this case, they might not deliver to residential addresses, especially if it's LTL, or full truckload, less than truckload shipments. So you're also going to complicate things because there's going to be a residential surcharge, there's going to be a lift gate surcharge on the truck. So with the warehouse, you'll be able to save on shipping and you'll be able to look like a more legitimate business to the manufacturers that you reach out to. Some manufacturers require a commercial address. I've had manufacturers tell me that the account is contingent on having a commercial warehouse, right? That's the only criteria that they want. That will legitimize your business a lot. To be an expert, you've been selling on Amazon for years now. You are, taking your business, you're rinsing and repeating, you're growing and scaling your business, probably 7-figure seller in this spot. It doesn't have to be, but most likely is. What you're looking at here is you definitely have a commercial warehouse. You definitely have some type of website, whether it's a industry specific, general website. You might have a brick and mortar partnership or two. With an expert level here, what we want to represent to these brands is we are a full blown, e-commerce business, right? We are not just a small startup Amazon seller. We're a full-blown e-commerce business at this level, right? We're doing big numbers here. We are, we have our warehouse, right? We might have multiple warehouses, so you tell them, we have multiple fulfillment centers or multiple warehouses that we ship to throughout the country. Maybe, you probably have to have some type of website. Whether it's 1, 2, 3 websites, and you have a brick and mortar partnership, and if not a partnership, you have your own brick and mortar store where you're actually selling physical products in, right? That would be the most advantageous. So you don't have to pay anyone, you don't have to rely on any other storefront to continue or to close more accounts, right? At this level, right, we don't have to rely on another storefront or formulating a partnership with them. Rather, we might have our own brick and mortar entity that we sell products through and carry and shelf the products, right? So brick and mortar store. Also at this level, you might now be able to represent yourself as a full service e-commerce company. In addition to selling products, maybe you as a business, you provide brand services for them. You help optimize their brand online, whether it be through search engine results, listing optimization. There's a whole bunch of components that you can go into with this, but brand visibility, customer support. You're a full service company at this level, and you have to represent yourself as such to these brands, because when you do, you will close more supplier accounts. Will a lot of suppliers still tell you, no, we're not interested in e-commerce? No, we have zero interest in Amazon? Yes, you will get that at all of these levels. But once you get here, I can assure you that the percentage that you are hearing that at is much lower than when you are here. And the only way to get here to the expert level is to start, on the ground up. You have to build this from really nothing. Unless you have a lot of capital with wholesale, it's a very slow process. And it's not just the type of business that you can throw money at and make it work. Somebody, if not you, somebody else has to be doing the work Ideally, if you're the business owner, you have to be doing the work. You have to be the owner, the operator, really putting in the hours that it takes to scale this business, right? I've spent thousands of hours, right? Thousands of hours on the phone with brand owners, getting all of this information, right? Guys, you would be amazed at the things that I have heard from different suppliers, at the lessons that I've learned, the mistakes that I've made. And the reason why I know when you get here, your percentage of rejection is much lower than when you're here is because I've went through all of this. And, I'm not saying that I'm a top level expert here. I would even say that I might still be in the intermediate phase. However, I'm learning, I'm learning every single day. Every phone call I make, I'm learning something new, what these brand owners want to hear. So now that we've covered, as a beginner, as an intermediary, as an expert seller, the different components that you'll want to have in order to better represent your company as a legitimate entity in order to close more supplier deals, let's cover the do's and the don'ts. So again, I'm making this video very comprehensive. I want you guys to be able to watch this video and really understand, okay, here is how we should be reaching out to these brands, right? Nobody's gonna tell you exactly what to say. You have to formulate your own pitch, your own value proposition, but I need you to take the components that I went over here and the components, the do's and don'ts that I'm about to cover, and bring it into your own business as you are reaching out to these brands. Number one, we'll start with the don'ts. Don't number one is do not be an Amazon seller. Do not say you want to sell their products on Amazon. Do not even use Amazon in the first sentence of the conversation. You want to explain to them that you are interested in opening a wholesale account and then start to explain more about your company. What do you do? How are you different from other sellers, right? Don't say I am different from other sellers like this. So you do not want to be just another seller like everyone else. You have to differentiate yourself. So now that we've gotten the word Amazon out of the way, we're not really focused on that. One tip that I want to share with you guys is that once you do ultimately tell them that you're interested, that you're going to be selling their products on Amazon, right? Because that has to come up. You can't straight out lie to them because then you might run into problems down the road. What I want you to do when you get to that point in the conversation is I want you to mention Amazon, and then right after you mention it, immediately deflect away and ask them a question. Ask them a calibrated question that makes them start to think more and more, right? So what that does, it's a sales tactic, is it basically sidetracks them from the whole Amazon space and further navigates yourself through the conversation on, okay, is this person on the other end of the phone legitimate? Are they, an honest person? Do they have a business that is full functional and not just an Amazon seller? Another thing that companies have a big problem with is these small orders and dropship orders. You want to make sure that you are portraying to the brand or the distributor that you're a stocking dealer. You are buying, in case packing quantity, pallet quantity. You are not interested in placing onesie, twosie orders and then having the business fulfill those orders for you. That will deter a lot of business owners and distributors. You also don't want to overcomplicate things right when you get an account. So maybe, you were successful in closing that wholesale account, but the company might not be set up really to ship your products to Amazon. So you don't want to jump in and say, hey, I need this prep requirement, I need this labeling requirement, they need to be boxed this certain way. That's immediately going to deter the company away from the relationship, because while a lot of businesses are set up to ship to Amazon, a lot are also not. So you want to be mindful of that and really just do not be a burden on the business, right? Do not be a burden on your supplier. So if logistics is a concern with shipping to Amazon, have the product shipped to you, even if you have to pay a little bit more in shipping on the first go around. Once you establish that relationship, I can assure you that most suppliers won't have a problem with shipping your goods directly to Amazon as long as the procedure is simple and outlined correctly for them. It's not that big of a deal. Ship the products to yourself. That way you have the account going and you can build a relationship from there. One final don't is don't contact generic wholesale websites like Wholesale Central. You can do it, but you're not going to close, really good supplier accounts. The companies that I'm targeting are business owners, businesses that I can work with directly, whether that's top salespeople, CEOs, distributors. I work with distributors too, but I'm working with brands that, there can be some type of vested interest mutually. To reach out to a wholesale site, I'm not saying you can't make some money on it, but every Amazon seller is doing this. Guys, you have to differentiate yourself. If you want to build a long-term business model that's sustainable, you're not going to have much success long-term with that type of a model. So take those don'ts, keep them in your mind, because we're going to jump into the do's. Some do's when you are contacting suppliers. Represent yourself as an actual company. Do you have all of this set up or part of it set up depending on where you are in the process? What kind of a business are you? Are you a specialty business? Are you a more general business? Do you provide services? Establish your mission and explain to them and articulate it properly. Again, how are you different than other sellers? This is a key point I keep going back to, because the differentiation happens when you start explaining these different things about your business. That's where they start to see and differentiate you from other sellers. It's not an explicit, I am different from other Amazon sellers, right? That's not the way it works. You are representing your company, you are asking them calibrated questions to learn more about their company, and then you are both determining in a mutual conversation, is this a good business relationship to get into? This is, business and sales is just like, it's building relationships just like relationships anywhere, right? You have to make sure that, okay, are you going to be able to provide something positive for their business, and are they going to be able to provide something positive for you? Focus on the value that you can provide them first, and then oftentimes what will come back to you is getting that supplier account, getting that exclusive agreement. And I say this because I have experience doing it. Finally, you want to know who you're talking to on the other end of the phone. Are you talking with a brand or are you talking with a distributor? My conversation with the brand owner is a lot different than a sales representative with a distributor that's getting a commission based on how much product they sell. Those conversations look very different. So when I talk to the brand owner, I make sure to tune in on things like how their brand is represented on Amazon. What are their product sales? What is their competition like? What are their reviews like, their ratings? What are customers saying about their product? Is the listing well optimized? Can you find it in the algorithm? All of those things are going to appeal to a brand owner, whereas with a distributor, not so much. They don't have that vested interest that a brand owner does. With a distributor, I might be able to take the approach of, here's the lines we're interested in, send me a price list, and then I know that sales rep is working off of a commission, so I want to buy higher quantity. Let's say I go through their pricing and it's right on the edge, right? It's that 15% ROI, or it's right there, almost meeting our criteria. Well, I would run everything in the price list at a 10% discount, and then I'd go back to that sales rep and explain to them, what type of a discount would you be able to provide me if we are purchasing this type of a quantity? So right there, you are telling them that you are a legitimate business. You are serious about buying. You're not looking for onesie, twosie orders. You are looking to stock the line, and in order to meet your criteria, you would have to get it at a 10% discount. If they're getting a commission off the sales, usually they will be able to work with you in some fashion on the cost structure. Even if you're not exactly at your needed profit margin, consider still buying in at a lower profit margin to get the relationship going, show them that you are a loyal customer, and then down the road, come back to them and say, hey, here's where we really need to be. What kind of volume do we need to go to in order to get to that number. That's it for this video, guys. I hope that really helped you understand about how to reach out to brands, suppliers, distributors of any kind. Most important message is understand who's on the other end of that phone or who's at the other end of the email. This is going to do you a lot of justice long term. Represent yourself as an actual business owner, not just an Amazon seller, and follow these components on the board no matter what level you are at, beginner, whether you don't have a single review on your Amazon account, or if you're a multi-million-dollar seller. All of this is applicable in wholesale, and I know that because I've experienced it myself. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and share this video with a seller who might need to hear some of these components. If you do enjoy these videos and want to continue to stay up to date, hit that subscribe button and notification bell as well. Thank you guys once again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you next time.